Film censorship has existed for almost as long as film itself, a way to limit what a viewer can see in their part of the world. Now, film is my favourite medium of art. I think I've made this very clear over the years. And some of the most well-known films of all time have faced censorship. Really frustrating because I, for one, don't like censorship. I think it's cringe. Boo! And that's why the idea of a rating system is a great one. On paper. You see, no rating system is perfect. Almost all have faults, and pretty wacky decisions. Some of these decisions make me want to commit acts of violence. So that's what I want to talk about today. Rating systems and the blatant inconsistencies that come with them. So grab a snack and strap in as we explore the world of rating systems.
I guess we look pretty silly at the moment.
In 1912, the British Board of Film Censors was formed. To my knowledge, they are the first film censorship board. Around a decade later, in 1922, America followed suit. The Hays Code was enforced around this time, banning all the fun stuff normal people would want to see in a film, such as profanity, nudity, detailed depictions of violence, and scenes of passion. It was also very strict on other elements, such as crime. Basically, in your average gangster film, the gangsters would have to be evil villains who were completely one-dimensional so as not to glorify crime, because you have to think of the children! Basically, the Hays Code aimed to put morals first and art second. Thank God Martin Scorsese started making movies after the code ceased to exist. Speaking of which, the Motion Picture Association of America abolished the Hays Code in 1968 and debuted their rating system that year, which has undergone a few minor changes over the years, but is basically still the same as it is today. The ratings are G, general audiences, PG, parental guidance, PG-13, parents strongly cautioned, R for restricted, and NC-17, adults only. Pretty understandable, to be honest. Over in the UK, the BBFC, the C stands for classification now, is even more straightforward with their rating system, which goes U for universal, PG, parental guidance, 12, 15, and 18. Gotta love how Australia's ratings are more complicated than that. Here in Australia, we have the Australian Classification Board, or ACB, which is actually government funded, by the way. I wonder how that could backfire horribly for us. And I have our ratings memorized like the back of my hand. We got G, which is general, PG, parental guidance, M for mature, MA15+, mature accompanied, R18+, restricted, and the funny porn one. Alrighty, now that you know the boards that we'll be focusing on today, let's take a look through the inconsistencies these boards are responsible for.
It moves us.
Okay, so how this will work is that we are going through the countries listed and showing off the weirdness / inconsistencies of the boards, starting with the MPAA is probably the most well-known ratings board out there. They are also stupid. It's been shown on numerous occasions that the MPAA has bias, and sometimes they are even flat-out inconsistent with their rules. One of the most well-known biases is that violence is completely fine, but swearing and sex is worse. Obviously. MPAA even has an unspoken rule called the one fuck rule. This rule states that in a PG-13 movie, you can only say the F word once. This has been to the detriment of many films. For example, the 2011 documentary Bully was rated R because of the language used in the film. What makes this even worse is that the film was intended to be a tool to stop bullying. What a smart ratings board, am I right? But movies like The Martian and Taylor Swift The Eras Tour have multiple F-bombs, but they were perfectly fine with PG-13. So did they forget their own rules? There are also films that just have strange ratings. The Matrix is rated R in the United States. For sci-fi violence, and brief language. Just doesn't make any sense to me. The violence is mostly bloodless, and the profanity is nothing a 13-year-old hasn't heard before. Also, who in their right mind thought the Planet of the Apes, the 1968 version, was suitable for a G? That film has a lot of dark and disturbing moments in it, and on-screen violence? Who made that decision? And now, to round out my roast of the MPAA, let's look at my favorite reasons for a film's rating from the MPAA. Twister, rated PG-13 for intense depiction of very bad weather. Matilda, 1996, rated PG for elements of meanness and ridicule, and for some mild language. Alien vs. Predator, rated PG-13 for violence, language, horror images, slime, and gore. Team America World Police, rated R for graphic, crude, and sexual humor, violent images, and strong language. All involving puppets. Oh, thank God you needed that clarification. Pink Flamingos, rated NC-17 for a wide range of perversions and explicit detail, so obviously family viewing. And my personal favorite, Three Ninjas Buckle Up, rated PG-13 for non-stop ninja action. That sounds like a review quote that would be on the film's poster, not the ratings advice. What? Anyway, now onto the BBFC.
Buckingham Palace has announced the death of His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh.
The BBFC is a ratings board I really don't have a lot to say about. They're fine. They're competent. Really, the biggest controversy they have been involved with is the video nasty controversy during the 80s. If you didn't know, when VHS first hit the market in the UK, videos didn't have to be sent to the BBFC for classification. This acted as a loophole for distributors who were distributing violent horror films, for example, to release their films uncensored without BBFC classification. Once moral crusaders like Mary Whitehouse caught wind of this, a moral panic happened which resulted in the BBFC now having to classify video releases as well. Another well-known controversy surrounding the BBFC is Watership Down's classification history. When the film was first released in 1978, the film was christened the unusually low classification of U. Unusual because the film featured bunnies killing each other with blood shown, and even mild profanity. This caused controversy for over 40 years, until 2022, when the film was upgraded to a PG. A much more fitting place for the film. Also, the FNAF movie is rated 15 over there. That's weird, seeing as FNAF has a very young fan base, and that's kind of reflected in the film itself. It's really not that scary, to be honest. As I said, I don't really have much to say about the BVFC. Moving on.
A f***ing VB, long neck, at 20 to 8 in the f***ing morning.
Australia is the country I reside in, so naturally, the ACB is the board I'm most familiar with. And oh boy, are they strange. Because they are simultaneously one of the most strict and most relaxed ratings boards out there. For example, so many films have been subject to the ban hammer or needed cuts for a preferred rating. Meanwhile, there are many films that have way lower ratings than they do in other countries. Alien, Die Hard, Predator, and the Rocky Horror Picture Show are all rated M here in Australia. All of these films are rated R in the United States. Yeah, in the M rating, you can get away with a lot of stuff that you may require a higher rating in other countries for, such as the ability to say f*** multiple times. And also, what separates an M from an MA15+? I have a friend who works at a cinema who tells me that as long as it's not super obvious that they're under 15, they don't really care. Numerous well-known and beloved films have gone through hell with the ACB, such as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was banned for over 7 years before finally releasing with an R18+ in 1984.
This is like George Orwell's book, 1984.
Then you have the cases of a film like Caligula, which is way too complex to cover in this video without the video being like 8 hours long. I recommend checking out the website refuseclassification.com. They are a super helpful archive for censorship of media here in Australia. Not just film, it has like video games and literature and everything you would want to read about. Check it out, I'll link it in the description. Did you know that John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum had to be censored to avoid an R18+? The censored version is the only available version of the film on DVD and Blu-ray, and even on streaming. However, The 4K disc is completely uncut. Yet another point to physical media. Also, there is the case of Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge, and Mortal Kombat 2021. Scorpion's Revenge is rated MA15+ for strong, bloody animated violence, while 2021 is rated R18+ for high-impact violence. I personally find that strange, as Scorpion's Revenge can get way more violent than the 2021 film at times, and there only was a gap of a single year, so I struggle to believe that the board can change in that amount of time. I could go on and on about the ACB, but I feel I have to stop here to avoid the video being 8 hours long, as I said about Caligula earlier.
So, choose the right movie for your family.
Look, I'm not opposed to the idea of rating systems. I actually think it's a great idea. I don't want my future kids to stumble upon a movie that they aren't quite ready for at like 6, for example. But in the age of the internet, rating systems are becoming more and more irrelevant. They're literally meaningless now. No kid has ever said at any point, "Oh boy, I'm 15 now! Now I can watch MA15+ films!" If you can't tell, censorship is a subject that I have a lot to say about, and if you want a part 2 about video games, I'd be happy to do it. But for now, let it be known that rating systems are far from perfect, and I think they could do with a little more tinkering. I've been Icey. See you soon.